Got my coffee and today's guest here with me, so we're ready to roll. I'm Michael Hanf, Executive Partner at Taiwan Advisory. Welcome to our Circular Coffee Break podcast, where we will be casually talking about everything circular and beyond. Now, as always, we hope the podcast is interesting, insightful, gives you a couple of new ideas. But if you have feedback, improvement ideas, suggestions, leave a comment or drop us a note at info@taiwan.com. We're always looking forward to get better, specifically as we know that we always have things to improve on. Now, my guest today started his career in marketing in 2010. He was the sales and marketing director at Biolan and chief marketing officer at Raisio and Harvia. From 2017 to 2020, he was responsible for Tori.fi or Tori.fi at Schibsted. So Tori, for those not familiar, is a general marketplace with more than 2.4 million users per month and an annual trade volume of over 600 million euros. Since September 2021, he's the CEO of Emmy Clothing, the leading Nordic online store for second-hand brand apparel, with more than 90,000 branded clothes available online. He holds an executive MBA from the Tokyo School of Economics at the University of Tokyo, and he is a private investor in more than 20 sustainability-related growth companies and startups. So I'm really looking forward to jump into all of this and talk about the industry, his career, and all of that in today's episode. Thank you for joining me on the show today, Timo Huhtamäki.
Thanks for having me. Very interesting topic we have today.
Perfect. Now, let's kick off. I mean, Emmy was founded in 2015. It's now 8 years old. Since then, the secondhand clothing market has changed a lot. And we briefly talked about that before we switched on the microphones. That, I mean, back in the days, it was something you would do, but you would not necessarily tell your friends. Nowadays, it's basically socially accepted, and even more, it's something that's socially promoted almost in that sense. So from your point of view, what are some of the key trends you're seeing, and what has changed for Emmy, but also from your perspective in the industry?
That's actually a very, very interesting topic, because when we take a look at the second-hand market from the last 20 years, we have seen quite dramatic change. It used to be like a DIY market first, people selling second-hand items to each other. It had a very strong flea market image around it, but then something happened. In 2015, 2017, we saw the rise of so-called managed services in the second hand. Emmy is one example in the clothing category, but then we also saw the Swappy in the mobile phones. They are operating in a quite similar operating model as Emmy is. That was founded in 2015, and then Mjuk in furniture was founded in 2019. So there is a quite strong transformation from this DIY or consumer-to-consumer circular economy towards more managed services. And maybe this is something that we can discuss more about, because it's something that people are sensing, and that is also growing that industry quite a lot, and also connecting retail and brands strongly into this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember when I was a student, the only option I had was basically go to the Red Cross stores or some other stores that were not that well managed, let's put it that way. So you found whatever you found, and if you didn't find anything, you didn't find anything. So compared to that, today's options are actually very different in that sense. Also much more brand driven, much more targeted in that sense. And I think that makes it much easier for people to buy and also sell in that case.
That's true, and when we take a look at that from the figures perspective and from the structures perspective, we saw that from 2000 to 2010, all the second-hand items were distributed to the physical flea markets, so as you also mentioned. But then in 2008, 2009, those same items went to the cloud. Huhta.net, Tori.fi, Facebook Marketplace was founded, so everything was available for everyone, and that was a big change because the liquidity of those items actually it became like 100 times better. So your opportunity to sell something was more probable than before, when 100 people saw your second-hand item, and now 10,000 people have opportunity to buy it. So that's a huge change, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, I think it's also. I mean, if I look around my family, my friends, my kids, I mean, secondhand is basically become the preferred option in that sense, and that's not only for clothing. And before Emmy, you've been working for Schibsted, basically being responsible for Tori.fi, and that's a marketplace I've been using a lot. Specifically for my kids, like kids' toys, kids' clothing, everything you can basically find there. Every year around this time of year, you basically have the situation that the school says, and we have skating, and we have skis. And then all of a sudden you go to Tori and you find the skis that the kids needs the next day in school. So it's a fantastic possibility. Now, I feel that Tori has actually become an important player in the market also as an alternative to basically newly buying things in the shop. What are some of the learnings you had? I mean, you've been spending 3.5 years, or more than 3 years actually there. And how do you feel those are now applicable for Emmy and how Emmy is developing?
There is one very significant learning point that I have, and I haven't actually discussed about this that much, is that the second-hand market is actually very supply-driven. And that was one of the key learnings that Tori had. So when you can create enough good quality supply, which is actually now sleeping in the people's closets. There are more items than we actually believe. I just give you like a monetary example that consumer indurables trade in Finland is roughly 20 billion euro market. It's something like 4,000 euros per person, and second-hand market is 2% of that. So 98% are these new items, and the items that are on people's, I could call it my personal balance sheet in your closets, in warehouses and so forth. That is increasing all the time. So we have more and more stuff in our own inventories, which is not for sale everywhere. So more inventory is there, and if we can free this inventory for sale, that's actually driving the second-hand market. Another big thing there is that I take another example. 20,000 students are moving to Helsinki every year in July when they are accepted to the universities, they start looking for a new apartment, and then they need affordable furniture and different kind of home devices and so forth. And every time from year to year, the second-hand market is facing so huge demand in July and run out of stuff every time. So people should know that when this kind of like a peaks in second-hand demand are coming, they should free their inventory at that exact point. That's a perfect place to sell your items. There are devils in details in second-hand business. Those are just two examples of the learning points you were asking, that seasons and this kind of like a situations in life are actually driving the peaks in second-hand demand.
Fascinating. Yeah, no, absolutely. I can completely relate to that. And I've noticed that on the user side. I mean, if you have winter clothing, if you have skis, if you have skates, you don't sell them at the end of skiing season. You basically wait until the beginning of the next skiing season, and then you sell it. at the point when everyone is buying skis. So I fully agree.
Yeah. And you are perhaps buying new items and then trying to sell the old ones, and actually you should do it vice versa. That would help to boost circular economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, what I'm doing at the moment, specifically for the kids, is I'm buying used skates in their current size and I'm selling old skates in their old size, basically equaling out at the end of the day. So I think it's a huge topic. The other thing is, the other day I went into my inventory. We have 2 kids, and you can imagine that a lot of toys basically pile up after a while. So I went to the basement and I went through all the toys and sorted them out. I think I have stuff to put on Tori for the next, 2 years, 3 years, because there's so much things that pile up in that sense. So I can completely relate to what you're saying. Now, Emmy is naturally looking at brand apparel, which is different from many other secondhand clothing markets, where you can basically find everything from the branded to the non-branded topics. How do you see the relation of demand and supply there that you just pointed out? Is that in balance? Is that something that works? Are enough people willing to give up on their branded things for other people to buy branded things, or how do you see the market there?
Actually, at the moment, we have more demand than supply. And that has been the case for many years already. And that is also the case in many other circular or second-hand segments, not only in clothing. But on the other hand, it's people tend to have like 66% of their wardrobes without any use, and also 5% of the Finns, they know that you can sell your second-hand items through Emmy or similar kind of services. So the awareness is low, and there's a lot of sleeping capital in the people's closet. So if I put these two together, there's a lot of potential. So I think people are ready to do it, but they just don't know that how easy it actually can be.
And it is really easy. I mean, I nowadays almost every bigger shopping center I go to, I see the Emmy boxes, and so you made it really easy for people to send in their clothing for selling. I mean, tell us a little bit about the process. I mean, from me sorting out my pullover or my jacket to when it lands in the shop and when it lands in someone else's wardrobe. How does that work? What are the key steps there?
If you want to sell your clothes, you just go to Emmy's website and fill in so-called seller form, your personal details and account numbers and so forth, and then you get the series of numbers, and then you just put your items to the basket and include that number to that basket, and then you just drop the basket to the Emmy box, or then we also have a home pickup, or then you can send it through the postal service. So 3 different kind of ways to get rid of it. Then we take the basket to Lohja. We curate the items. We are pricing them. We are taking photographs, and then we are warehousing it. And when someone is buying it, we are then paying you based on the certain kind of a remittance table. So you get a commission out of that depending on the price point. It goes to maximum 80%. Yeah. For example, yesterday Yle's journalist came with the peak performance jacket, and it was priced 149 euros, and her commission is something like 115 euros or so. So that's one example of that.
Cool. So it's definitely also from an economic point of view, it makes sense not only to make room in your closet in that context.
I once calculated if people in Finland would sell all the extra inventory they have in their closet, it's worth of billions of dollars, or billions of euros. And I also calculated that our defense budget in Finland is 6 billion. We could have 1 year of defense budget by selling our clothes. That tells that there are huge volumes behind these.
No, absolutely. And again, I have to admit I can completely relate to that. And as you said, you don't use a large percentage of the things you have there. I mean, because you have your favorite sweater, you have your favorite pants, you have your favorite whatever, and everything else is basically nicely stacked and never touched, most likely. And most likely it's the same for everyone, not only for me in that context. So huge potential there, absolutely. Now, I mean, the second-hand fashion market is red hot at the moment. I think there's a lot of players, a lot of companies waking up also to the possibilities there. At the same time, there's a lot of demand. I mean, I mentioned earlier, I mean, if I look at the younger generation specifically, many of them prefer used textile and other products over the new ones for economic reasons, but also for environmental reasons and many other reasons. What are some of the opportunities, but also challenges you see in the industry at the moment? What are the things? I mean, you spoke already about awareness, people not being aware that they can sell their old clothes. Are there other things where you feel either we as consumers or where the regulator or investors or any specific stakeholder in the model basically needs to do a little bit more or do a little bit something different?
That's a very interesting topic, and I think there are hundreds of things and a lot of details which are related to this. But you were referring to the younger generation. Actually, quite a recent report from Global Data was indicating that Generation Z, 62% of them started their buying clothes from the second-hand market. 62%. That's kind of like a number which has actually doubled in few years, and that's also a very encouraging number, because when the purchasing power of this Generation Z is increasing, we can see dramatic changes in the purchasing behavior. And also when you were asking about the structures and obstacles and so forth, I think one of the biggest competitors the second-hand has at the moment is the fast fashion. And all the structures in the linear economy, they are so efficient that T-shirt costs €9 or something like that. We all understand that that is exactly the same price point that branded T-shirt has when it's 5 years old. And then there is a question: what are the values of the people? Is it so that you want to have a €9 fast fashion T-shirt or 5 years old Tommy Hilfiger T-shirt, for example? And that is the decision that consumers has to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had a discussion with one of our clients exactly about that, where they basically told us our customers are so price sensitive. As soon as you tell them it's a little bit more, even though the product will hold longer, so the lifetime cost is actually lower at the end of the day, but the cost that you pay front up is higher. It's very difficult to get that message across and basically get people to do that. So I think it's a lot also about understanding what does that mean at the end of the day, because most likely the fast fashion shirt is from a quality point of view and most likely from a durability point of view on the same level than the 5-year-old branded shirt that costs a little bit more and has better quality production and also materials included. So
exactly, and it's there are some low-hanging fruits related to that. I have never seen clothing retailer indicating what is the resale value of a certain product. I could ask the question why. Because in a car trade, that's quite typical. Okay, buy a Mercedes-Benz or Tesla or something, and if that's in a good condition, after 2 years you get this amount of money. So yesterday I was in one event. There was Professor Minna Halme from Aalto University, and she said that we should start to see clothes as an investment goods, not like consumables.
Yeah.
And that was a good way to put it. So that if we start to think about the jacket, then maybe I can invest some more, but then the resale value is higher, and actually I'm winning in this game by investing.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, with some brands you see that actually. I mean, I've read about some handbags that are actually bought as an investment, and they basically increase in value over time.
Sneakers,
it's unbelievable that you buy something for €50 and then 5 years later it's worth triple that.
Yeah.
In the fashion context, I think, but I fully agree. I think that's something that we have learned as a society. Actually, this consumption-based thinking is like when I buy something, I buy it to throw it away at some point in time, and there's only a limited amount of products or investments that we see more as long-term investments. I mean, you would never think about a house in the sense of like, oh yeah, I buy that, but then at the end, I basically just tear it down and it's worth nothing. You think about it as an investment, and so I really like that.
Yeah.
Like that comparison. I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, think about consuming one car per 3 years.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, I think.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it starts with the youngest in our society. We need to teach them what it is and how to do that. Now, you are the CEO of the leading Nordic store for secondhand brand apparel, which is, I think, a pretty good positioning. I mean, what are your plans for Emmy? What can we expect next from the Emmy marketplace and from you driving the industry and the secondhand wave, so to say?
That's actually a very interesting question, and we have been doing the strategy work quite a lot recently. We have very active board consisting of different kind of angel investors and impact investors who understand this online market very, very well. And the category leading company like Emmy is we have plenty of opportunities, and that makes it very difficult because there are actually many opportunities. We have seen it in a way that now this second-hand clothing industry is only 1% of that total market. So 40 to 50 million euros in Finland compared to the 4 billion euros in new items. So there's a lot of room to grow by just penetrating the market because this structural change is on our side. That is number one for us. But then partnering with brands and retail, we have already been doing that, but we are going to do that more. So this will become more and more systemic, being that this so-called resale as a service for brands and retailers, that will be the future. No one can do this alone. Yes. That must be a combination that brand and resale marketplace are doing something together so that the processes are as lean as possible. Yeah. Same goes with retail. That is number 2 direction, and then number 3 is internationalization. We are aiming at the Nordic market at the moment. That's very interesting because there is not like a clear market dominant player in the Nordic region, and there are a lot of synergies in this market and partnering with e-commerce and so forth. So there are three paths to that, and of course we are also looking for new funding. We are entering into this funding round A, cool. and is issuing that quite soon. So interesting times ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, I mean, strategy is as much about basic understanding and deciding what you not do going forward than it is about what you do. So you definitely need to leave opportunities behind. But it's great to hear that there's a very clear path to also expand and basically bring this forward. And I fully agree. Also based on our work, we see that this combination of, let's say, the, in quotation marks, traditional brands, for lack of a better term, definitely are looking at these new trends and these new markets, but they don't necessarily have the capabilities to address that. So it makes perfect sense to create strategic partnerships in that context. So really looking forward to see all of the things that happen. As I think I mentioned earlier, I'm personally a user of Emmy on both sides, the selling and the buying side. So looking forward to see even more products on the marketplace that I can buy for myself and my kids, which is the other thing. I mean, my kids basically surf Emmy every second day, and they're always pointing, oh, this shirt is great, and this jacket is great, and this thing is great. And actually also there you need to be careful, because you can also overbuy secondhand clothing. So it doesn't secure you from basically filling up your house with stuff.
Exactly.
It maybe even is more compelling because the prices are lower in that context.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and also I think that the aim for resale companies is not to boost the consumption; it is to offer an real alternative for buying new. And if we can sell this idea through the population, that is something that is going to change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Now, you're also an investor. And as I mentioned on top of the show, I mean, you have investments in 20 sustainability related growth companies and startups. Now, tell us about your portfolio. I mean, where do you see the biggest growth potential and opportunities on a broader scale when thinking about sustainability, circularity, and all of these trends that will help us address all of these things like climate change, biodiversity loss, and so on. So, what are you looking at? What are the key things you're investing into?
Perhaps I should say first that these are not recommendations for anyone. So if you are losing your money, so don't blame me, because I'm not like a portfolio strategist for anyone. But I've been focusing on the growth companies which are somehow benefiting from the structural changes in the market. So this kind of, I also call them secular trends, not circular, but secular trends. Yeah. So how to benefit from the structural changes. And I did my first startup investment over 10 years ago. It was a company called Pikeasoft. They're a software company focused on the different kind of systems for the mobile phones circularity. They're offering it to the retail and brands and marketplaces and so forth. And that company has grown very well. They're now something like 3.7 million euro revenue level. Nice. And that was very encouraging start. And after that, I've been investing in a handful of other startup companies as well. Emmy is actually the most recent one. and because I think Emmy is benefiting from this structural change that resale will actually be bigger than fast fashion someday. Yes. That's very strong trend. Then there are some investments which have already been IPO'd, like PHG Group, for example. They own Netrauta and Talon.com in Finland. Behind that, there is an idea that the online penetration in the DIY and hardware sales has been historically very, very low if we are comparing it to other countries. And I think it will grow. It is now roughly 10%, and I think it will be at 30% or something like that. So this is the rise of the online penetration. Yes. And then there are a handful of other smaller companies. Some of them are quite traditional, but those are maybe the most interesting ones. But half of them are digital businesses and somehow related to the circular economy. Yeah. I believe this systemic change from linear to circular, and I think in long term companies are benefiting from that. One thing perhaps what I would like to say is that always when I'm investing, I'm thinking the long term. Yeah. How is the world going to look like in 10 years? Not that what is the value of some company in 1 year or 2 years. And I've been happy with that strategy. Yeah. It gives me the opportunity to sleep my nights well, because I know that trend is my friend as well, is going to some direction, and nothing is going to stop that change.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think, you're spot on. I mean, these trends, digital circularity, sustainability, they're here to stay. They will accelerate, if anything, And there's a very strong interconnection between those. We will need digital technology to address many of the sustainability-related questions, to address the questions of climate change, biodiversity loss, freshwater scarcity, and all of these topics. Digital will be our best friend in that context. So combining the two definitely is the way to go in that context. Now, the coffee is empty. And it is time to wrap up this episode of the Circular Coffee Break. To all listeners out there, a call out. So go to Emmy Clothing, become a user, a seller, a buyer of secondhand clothing. As we heard, there is a market, there is a demand. There's not enough supply for the demand we're seeing. If you're an investor and you're listening, you're interested in Emmy potentially as an investment, reach out to Timo. I'm sure he's happy to discuss about the next investment round that's happening. And let's make sure that the guys get the funding to actually fulfill all the strategic directions they have been painting, because it's a great company with a really great purpose and a really great offering of services. As I said, I'm a customer myself, and I've been really happy with my experience and the way I have been able to dress properly with the right gear. Great. If you have any comments, ideas, suggestions, as always, please drop us a note or leave us a comment. You can drop us a note at info@taival.com. Also, please remember to subscribe to stay in the loop on new episodes. They will drop every 2 weeks. And we have a very interesting list of guests coming up. So really eagerly looking forward to that, and hope you will all listen into also future episodes. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you here on the Circular Coffee Break.